Okay, Chair Hackney, we are live.
Great. Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30, March 10. This is the Parking Task Force meeting. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. We will start with item 1.1, the roll call and introductions.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Task Force members, please be reminded to say that you're attending remotely and mention the city and state you are attending from. Mayor Stevens? No. Mayor Pro Tem Gregg?
Yes, attending virtually from East Lansing, Michigan, and Ingham County.
Thank you. Douglas Jester? No. Okay. Dana Watson? Councilmember Watson?
Here, attending virtually, East Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County.
Thank you. Corey Quinn?
Present. I'm also attending virtually from East Lansing in Clinton County.
Eric Rosecrans?
I'm here attending virtually from East Lansing.
Greg Ballline?
Here, attending virtually, East Lansing, Michigan, Ingham County.
Eric Sudol? Not with us today. Mike Kruger?
Here, attending virtually from East Lansing.
Luke Hackney?
Present virtually, East Lansing, Ingham County.
And Tom Muth? No. That gives us a 7-member quorum. Did I miss anybody? Okay, I believe that completes a roll call, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We can move on to 1.2, approval of the minutes. We have minutes from both November 10 and March 12, so I'll do them individually. I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes from November 10, 2020 and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Ballline. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. And I will also make a motion to approve the minutes for March 12, 2020. Is this 2020 or is this supposed to be 2020? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, today, got it. Or yeah, why is this March 12, 2020? Did we never approve those?
We didn't have a quorum at the last meeting, so we weren't able to approve those.
Gotcha, okay, all right, throwing me off. Well, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve those minutes and ask for a second.
This
is Douglas.
Oh, who was that? The second?
This is Douglas Jester. I've joined and I will second, but I think Jesse beat me to it.
All favor and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We can move over to item number 2, which is public comment. Staff, is there any public comment today?
Chair, currently we have 2 callers in the queue.
Okay, great.
Are we under the 2-minute rule for this particular task force? Is that what I understand, Chair?
I believe we did pass that earlier.
For the 2 minutes, okay. Public callers, you'll be given 2 minutes. You'll be unmuted and given 2 minutes to speak. And if you do not wish to speak, please just say pass. So caller with the last 3 digits of 440, you will be unmuted and given the opportunity to speak for 2 minutes. And if you do not wish to do so, please just say pass. You've been unmuted. Caller 440, do you wish to speak? All right, I'm going to take that as a pass. And move on to caller 963. Caller 963, you've been unmuted and given the opportunity to speak. You have 2 minutes.
Just FYI, every other board and commission allows 5 minutes. You're considering a budget today. 3 items I wanted to bring your attention to. First, you already have car allowances for 2 employees at the rate of about $2,900 a year, which according to the IRS rate of 56 miles per year is reimbursing over 5,000 miles a year for 2 employees of a parking system where all of the parking garages are within about 3 blocks of each other and City Hall is half a block away. You're considering raising that to $3,550 a year, which raises us to 6,339 miles per year for 2 employees who apparently need to drive that much to handle the parking system. Secondly, staff has in various communications estimated the cost per space in the Center City District garage, I believe at about $35,000 per space. If you actually calculate in all the interest and fees and money paid for the developer, attorneys, et cetera, it actually comes to $90,000 per spot in the Center City District garage. For Newman Lofts, the developer pays $65 a month, so it will take 116 years to pay off the cost of each of those spots at the price being paid by the developer. Of course, that really won't happen because the garage won't last that long. So what that means is we subsidize the building of private parking spots, hundreds of private parking spots in the Center City District garage. And third, that figure assumes no maintenance. Of course, there is maintenance. What we found out is that the expansion joints have already failed in the new building. And there was an issue with pipes not being properly covered. I was told originally that this was being covered under warranty, but now it appears the problems are persisting. And I have questions about who is actually going to pay for that, whether the developer is paying for it out of the $1.2 million that we just reimbursed them out of the new bonds, or if the contractor that apparently did them incorrectly is going to pay for them. But it seems a little ridiculous for the people of East Lansing to pay it when the master development agreement for the Center City District garage was supposed to protect us from any cost overruns beyond the initial price. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, caller. Yes, that completes all the callers, Chair.
Okay, great. We can move on to item 3 then, which is the fiscal year budget for 2021.
Hi, everybody. This is Caleb from I'm the downtown parking administrator, Caleb Sherrill, and I've been with the city for 20 years. Went to, and I think I know most everybody on here, but I went to MSU, graduated from MSU, started as a booth attendant with the city while I was attending MSU. So been here since 2000. So what I'm going to do first is run through where we adopted the budget for fiscal year 21. And I'm going to talk about where we are now estimating ending fiscal year 21, which fiscal year 21, in case you are unaware, is July 2020 through June 2021. And the budget was done earlier in 2020. So I'm going to run through basically line by line for the most part, just so everybody has a good idea of what our budget is based off of. So Brownfield cost reimbursement is based off of Albert Place Brownfield tax capture, which is Albert Place condominiums. We have a parking garage at Bailey Lot 7 at that location. Charges, restitution fines is charges for any equipment damage for when charges are filed for restitution. That's a newer line item in there. Now that we have cameras in the facilities, it helps us to catch individuals that are damaging equipment. And get our monies back. The largest majority of our revenue is charges for services, which is the next section. You can see that where we adopted the budget and where the budget ended up for most of the facilities is down revenues. A couple of facilities is up from where we initially estimated, like Albert Avenue, Lot 1, Lot number 4, which is going offline soon for MSU FCU development. And Evergreen Lot 8, which did better than expected, as we expected that lot to go offline earlier for infrastructure repairs, which are currently happening. And then Lot 15, which is City Hall West lot, that one went off, will be going offline for repairs as well as part of that same infrastructure repairs project. We did have some money budgeted for future rate increases. We decided that was for permit rate increases and meter rate increases. The decision was made to defer those rate increases for fiscal year 21 as we went through COVID, figuring that demand was down, was not a good time to increase rates for those rates. Next section is 5491, which is employee parking. All departments and city staff who have employees parking in the downtown parking system pay for those employees to park in the downtown parking system. So those are those amounts. Space rental pertains to MSU FCU rental of an ATM location by Bailey Lot 11, Marriott laundry space rental in MAC garage, and Scoop Pedicab space rental in MAC garage, as long as some rental space for community and economic development for the underground market storage area. Miscellaneous revenue is charges for new and replacement cards for permit cards, late turn-ons, and equipment damage. Interest income is basically, finance could probably explain it better, but it's basically when our revenues are ahead of our expenses. For any duration of time, that's interest we are gaining on money in the bank. So we had estimated or adopted a budget where the numbers were going to be higher, but obviously with the budgetary impacts, our interest income, our revenues did not consistently stay ahead of our expenses very substantially throughout the year. So there's a smaller amount of interest there. Contribution from DDA is university place tax increment financing that was used to offset 2016 MAC garage rehab debt. We had replaced the suspended deck in MAC garage, which is the garage under the Marriott, due to concrete delaminations and unsafe conditions in that facility. So that was re-engineered and the old concrete deck was taken out and the new deck was put in. 6001 is salaries and wages. Going through COVID, we did work share for some maintenance staff and parking assistant, as long as we had a retirement and we did not hire back an operations coordinator. So you can see that those numbers have decreased. Wages for contingent staff, which are parking ambassadors. We did work share for parking ambassadors as well. And now we currently have about half the parking ambassadors for customer service than we did before COVID. Retirement, the leave time payout is basically the retirement that happened. It happened in fiscal year 20, though we had budgeted for 21. The individual just decided to retire earlier than expected. Overtime wages, we're not doing special events, so overtime wages went down. Since we're not doing special events in the downtown, we don't have as much need to have maintenance staff on duty for overtime. Car allowance, that's for non-city vehicle driving at work. It saves the city from buying more city vehicles for staff to drive while they're doing facility counts and facility checks multiple times a week for many hours. So next one is Dpw charges. It's labor work order charges. Basically, Dpw handles plowing of the downtown and parking facilities and cleaning of the facilities, along with some landscaping in and around facilities. So we were able to reduce that amount by doing less maintenance, downtown maintenance cleaning through COVID, and also closing a couple of the facility roofs off to the public because of lower demand. And that required us to have to plow the roofs less often throughout the winter, which was substantial savings for the budget. Engineering charges for 6081 line item. We had a project earlier in fiscal year 21 that wrapped up, which was funded by FTCH. There was originally undersized piping, drain piping designed for that garage, which we uncovered over a few years where we were having some issues, and they actually funded the repairs and the redesign of that drainage system, which is great. We end up having they have their own engineers overseeing the project, but anytime a project is done in our facilities, we like to have our own engineering DPW staff oversee it as well. So there's a line item there for $4,000 to oversee that project. The next large section here is personnel services, which is health insurance and Social Security and retirement, workers' compensation. And you can see that where we had adopted the budget, we were at $990,000 approximately, and where we actually estimate ending the year is at about $760,000, which is substantially less than where we had budgeted. And this is because of ambassadors, having less ambassadors and having an early retirement and not filling that position. We also have office supplies, which is a small line item, but we've also decreased that due to the office having less staff and the office being closed to the public. Operating supplies, basically operating supplies is anything that we have to purchase to run the parking system. Cleaning supplies, gate arms, tickets, anything like that. So you can see that with us being less busy, less vehicles in the system means less equipment being damaged usually, and less cleaning being done, we were able to save some money in operating supplies. 7401 is contract services. We deferred a large facility maintenance project from fiscal year 20, actually fiscal year 21. We were anticipating doing it this last summer. And we had to defer that project because of COVID. It was originally bid as not bid, but engineering analysis was estimating $1 million worth of repairs that should be done to our facilities. We met with the engineer and prioritized the need for the facilities and whittled that down to $500,000. Obviously that concerns me when we, every 3 to 5 years, we try to do a facility repairs project. And the facilities should get maintenance every 3 to 5 years. But we had to defer that project because we didn't have the funding to move forward with it. So they need concrete repairs, waterproofing, and a substantial amount of that on a regular basis. So the contract services would have been a higher amount if we had moved forward with that project, because that would have covered construction oversight and engineering for that project. Equipment maintenance contracts cover elevator service maintenance, parking access revenue control system, which is our gated lot system, and the camera system, and contracts for fire suppression. Audit services are annual audits done through the finance department, and that's our portion that we pay. Software maintenance relates to the Parkeon multi-space meters software and Clancy software. Clancy is the system that's utilized for payment due notices and tracking, which payment due notices are utilized for individuals that don't have a way to pay at the exit. They're issued what's called a payment due notice for the max daily fee, and that's how we track it, is through the Clancy system. The city is self-insured, and this is our portion for 7601. That's our portion for being self-insured and any claims that have come throughout the year. Communications, we're looking at elevator phone lines, office phone, cell phones for staff, communications, internet connections. The next line there is for each facility has fiber communications. That covers the fiber communications for each facility and meter modems and their communication for the smart meters. Advertising and promotion line 7801 is monies that we do $5,000 each year to Downtown Management Board for helping with marketing of the downtown. That's that line item. And the city parking system is part of 3 condo associations for the next line item. Albert Place Condominiums, which is Bailey Garage, Lot 7. University Place Condominium Association, which is MAC Garage under the Marriott. And Center City, which is the new garage at Albert Avenue. We're part of the condo association there as well. So this is condo dues for those condo associations. Those condo dues handle common elements of those facilities, of those areas, and the maintenance of them and upkeep. Employee training and travel, obviously that is an item we're doing much less of. We try to budget some money so maintenance can go through trainings, we can go to conferences, that kind of thing. We've only done $20 worth of training so far this year for a lead ambassador, getting them certified tourism ambassador training, which is a very inexpensive but very beneficial training that makes you more aware and able to communicate with individuals about how great our area is and how many neat things there are to do in it. Next, we have facility utilities. You can see that 8205 utilities for electricity, that item we had budgeted, adopted a budget much higher, and that's when we were trying to estimate where the new facility, the new garage at Albert Avenue, was going to come for electricity. Obviously, we like to overestimate a little bit and be cautious, and it actually came in substantially better than expected. So that's why those numbers are less for estimated year end for fiscal year 21. And land lease for Bailey Lot 11 is what that line item is for. We lease 2/3, 2 parcels for that lot from Metzger and Fabian. So the land lease there, we had estimated what our revenues were going to be because it's a portion of revenue sharing. So the revenues obviously have been less through COVID. So therefore less revenue sharing goes to Metzger and Fabian for the 2/3 of that lot. Copier use and rental, we have a Xerox copier in the office. Equipment rental is if we need to rent any large pressure washers or any other equipment for temporary use. We've had to rent facility pumps and things like that in the past, but we haven't had to do much of that recently. Repairs and maintenance, we're doing less preventative maintenance. Obviously, some more Band-Aids on some fixes that require some more money to fix. Less washing of decks, less stairwell deodorizing and cleaning, less window washing throughout the year. So that's why we were able to whittle that repairs and maintenance amount down to the estimated amount. Postage and shipping, very little, if any. Credit card fees, we were able to, that number is much less because we have many less transactions. So less credit card transactions mean less fees. So permits, licenses and assessment fees, that's for our elevator annual licenses. It's about $500 from past history per elevator in the parking system. And then taxes relates to Bailey Lot 11 property taxes. We pay that for the 2/3 that we lease from Metzger Fabian. So we pay the annual property taxes on that as well. Next, we have general government indirect charge allocation. That's an amount we pay for other department staff assistance and support. Primarily, finance department has a large plays a large role in helping with our invoicing and our money handling for the department. They handle our collections and they also handle sales of all of our permits. City computer rental, that's for our work PCs and our laptops and IT support from the East Lansing IT department. And garage equipment rental, that is for leasing of city vehicles or our portion of funding of city vehicles for their maintenance and ongoing cycling of keeping in new vehicles, which is better than using old vehicles that break down and keep you out of operation for extended periods. Gas and oil fleet charges, less city vehicle use currently, so the gas and oil charges have been less. And the capital outlay section deferred the facility repairs project, which I mentioned earlier, which entails waterproofing, concrete repairs, and caulking. So we deferred that, so you can see that line item is estimated to end the year at a 0 instead of the $500,000 we had initially proposed. Last page for this section. Part of the 2015 master plan, parking master plan update, I recommended that we establish a reserve fund for future facility repairs and tech upgrades. So we established equipment replacement reserve as a line item in our budget. We had projected to actually put some money into that, which is awesome. This for fiscal year 21, but because of COVID, that was obviously a no-go. It's supposed to be for funding future facility repairs and technological upgrades. Debt service is the next section. Debt service goes to pay for MAC rehab project, parking access revenue control system purchase, Bailey Garage Lot 7 construction, Bailey Lot 11 expansion, and facility improvements projects that have taken place in the past. And last is a transfer to the building authority, which building authority is what was utilized to construct the Charles Street parking garage. And that is our transfer to fund the construction of that facility. So you can see bottom line here that we had projected, adopted a budget that was balanced of just over $5 million. We ended at revenues of, or projecting to end revenues a little over 3 million with expenses about 3.5 million. So that's a use of fund balance about $500,000, 480,000. Revenues down about 2 million and expenses down about 1.6 million. Are there any questions about that section before I go into some more detail about the little history and the next year's budget?
Anyone? I think you move on, Caleb.
All right. So a little bit more here. So on the next sheets here, you can see a little history dating back to 2017 actual, and we have actual for 2017, 18, 19, and 20. And then what we just covered was 2021 estimated. And then I'm going to also talk about, I'm trying to go through this one a little bit faster, but fiscal year 22 finance review, which is where next year's fiscal year budget is currently at. So we can talk through that. I'll present on it, and then we can go through some of our cost reductions and the other items on the agenda. So basically, Brownfield cost reimbursement, I already went over that one. And that stays pretty consistent for Albert Place, Brownfield. You can see history of the charges for services this is where we get our main revenues from, the majority of our revenues. Over the past decade or so, we've experienced a downfall to a certain degree of charges for services for parking in the facilities. And this is, anecdotally, less people driving cars, and who knows what other reasons may be there, but less charges for services in the facilities. Obviously, we hit 2020 and 2021 fiscal year, and that's been the long impact from COVID. So that number is much lower. We are projecting conservatively optimistic that we are going to start an uptick here in transactions for the next fiscal year, and hopefully continue that into the future. So employee parking, we already covered that. That's staff, all city staff who park in the system. Each department pays for their parking permits. Space rental, we covered that. That stays pretty consistent over the years. We're always looking for other ways to lease facilities. And capital contributions, you can see in 2020 there's for the actual amount, there's a $22.7 million, and that's tracking for the and Jill can correct me if I'm stating this wrong, but for Center City garage construction, that money has to be tracked on paper through the parking fund and then went out to pay Harbor Bay for the bonds that were used to construct the parking garage. Miscellaneous revenue, we covered that one. That's one stayed pretty consistent, gone up over the years because the cost of proximity cards have gone up. So we charge more for the proximity cards for the facilities, and we are able to catch more equipment damage with our camera system now. So that number has gone up as well. Interest income, I'd mentioned that one before. That one stays pretty consistent with some fluctuations here and there, depending how much revenue we have ahead of expenses. And contribution from DDA is the University Place tax increment financing to offset MAC rehab. That one is just a finance number that's plugged in depending on the year. So bottom line revenues, you can see the trend there over the years has gone down. But from fiscal year 21, where we estimate ending the year, we are expecting, like I had mentioned, a conservative increase to revenues with businesses opening back up. Hopefully MSU getting back into action and more revenues, more parkers downtown. This is what we need. Next, we have salaries and wages, getting to the expenses part of things. We have, you can see in actual amount for 2019, we had, when building the new facility at Center City, we had increased 2 part-time positions to full-time, anticipating that we're going to be busy or taking care of more facilities. Heading into COVID, we already are a department that is very, and I think every department in the city is very, very minimally staffed for the size of operation and the responsibilities that we have. So we currently still have no operations coordinator and half the ambassadors. We have anticipated an increase to salaries and wages by hiring a new operations coordinator position back in anticipation of doing special events. If there's any expectation that we're going to handle special events and any events in the downtown, we need to have that position back. So that one has been budgeted for. Wages for contingent, which is the parking ambassadors who handle customer service. With us expecting a ticking up in transactions and business, we're going to have more ambassadors to handle customer service. So we'll have to start staffing more shifts and hiring more ambassadors back. So that's reflected here for fiscal year 22. You can see that number had dropped over the years because we went cashierless in the parking system and transitioned to parking ambassadors. But now we are expecting we're going to have to hire some back and have a little bit of an uptick to handle customer service in the downtown. There's that on the last part, leave time payout, we had the early retirement, which was supposed to happen in 21, but happened in 20. So that's tracked there in 2020 actual. Overtime wages, we're budgeting for getting back to special events. So that number has to go up to handle the special events. We have to have maintenance staff on duty to handle those. And when we have more business in the parking system, more after-hours situations can arise from equipment damage and facility issues. So that's when maintenance staff get called in to handle those situations. So we're budgeting for more overtime. We have car allowance in here as well, which with extra facilities, the large new garage, we have to do more car counts and we drive the facilities more. So yes, there are a couple of staff that get a car stipend as opposed to having a whole additional city vehicle, which would cost substantially more for the department. DPW charges, we're expecting those to go back up for cleaning, plowing, downtown maintenance. And we also budgeted for engineering charges for DPW for the facility repairs project so that we can have staff to oversee that project as well. That will overlap fiscal year 22 and 23. Health insurance for retirees and actives and retirement benefits are the next section. And that gets us down to the bottom of personnel services. Personnel services will be going up from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22 because of more ambassadors and hiring back an operations coordinator, along with health insurance cost increases that come usually annually. Operating supplies, we're expecting to try to keep that number lower, but we're going to have to purchase tickets, gate arms, maintenance supplies, all that kind of stuff to keep the operation going. Contract services and equipment maintenance contracts. Contract services for engineers and fire suppression, guardian alarm, and elevator maintenance and parking access revenue control system maintenance contracts. Audit services, same thing, annual portion. Talked about software maintenance and insurance being self-insured. In communications, we're expecting those numbers to stay pretty consistent along with fiber communications. Still budgeting for a DMB transfer of $5,000 for marketing. Condo association numbers should stay pretty consistent. Still plan to do very little employee training and travel. 8205, the section of utilities. We've refined that number better now for Board of Water and Light Electricity. So that is reflected here. Bailey Lot 11 land lease. We're expecting revenues to go up some, hoping that they do. So we're going to pay more money for revenue sharing for Bailey Lot 11 for the 2/3 that we lease from Metzger Fabian. And repairs and maintenance, we're going to get back to some more cleaning and stairwell deodorizing and washing and window washing, but not to the levels that we were pre-COVID. We're going to try to do maybe instead of monthly stairwell washing, we'll try to do bi-monthly. And try to do some more deck wash downs to get chlorides and dirt and drains washed. But we're not going to be able to get back to where we were quite yet, is what our guess is. And credit card fees, budgeting for more credit card fees with increased transactions. Elevator licenses, Bailey Lot 11 property taxes. And yes, our general government indirect charge allocation to the finance department and other departments. IT charges, we're expecting to go up some. City vehicle funding goes up a little bit. Gas and oil charges, we're expecting to go up some. And then you can see our facility repairs project for capital outlay buildings and structures. We are trying to split over the next 2 fiscal years between fiscal year 22 and 23, $250,000 per year from the deferred facility repairs project from fiscal year 21. So we have that budgeted here as well. And then we have the section on debt service, which I had mentioned before, pays for past facility repairs and other facility construction. And then the transfer to building authority for Charles Garage construction. So bottom line there, you can see the little history of revenues versus expenses. Fiscal year 17 actual, we were down about $70,000. 2018 was a good year, almost $1 million in the positive, and 2019 was good as well, about $500,000 in the positive. So that helped us to have a little bit of a fund balance. Then going into COVID 2020 fiscal year, luckily we were tracking very well going into COVID closure. Had a couple 2.5 months there of free parking, and then another month of 2-hour free parking. So we were only down about $180,000 at the end of that fiscal year. We're looking at ending this year about $480,000 fund balance use, and ending fiscal year 22, which is next fiscal year, with about $430,000 fund balance use. So obviously using substantial fund reserves for this fiscal year and next. Well, sorry that took a while there, but I wanted to run through all the details so everybody was in the know on all the different stuff we have to pay for and deal with. I've got a few other things to go, and then we'll open the floor up to, is there any questions on that last section before I go over these next few little bits?
Hey, Caleb, this is Jill.
Yes.
I just want to clarify the capital contribution line, the 22.7 million. It does have to do with Center City Garage, but it's really us recording the value of that asset. So all of that was paid by Harbor Bay, but we have to record the asset because we own it. And we're in charge, we're responsible for maintenance and repairs and operations. So it's not us spending money or paying Harbor Bay. I just wanted to clarify on that.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for clarifying that. All right, anybody else? All right, so let me buzz through this last little section. I'm just going to go through section 4.1 with some things that we have already done and some things we plan on doing and some of what we're facing. So we deferred facility repairs project from fiscal year 21. I mentioned that already. We've got the office closed to the public because of staffing limitations. Doing less maintenance on facilities, trying some more inexpensive fixes, less washing of facilities. We deferred the maintenance plan or the master plan update for the parking. We deferred back office integrations, which we were going to tie together all of our back office for software, make for some more efficiencies. Lucidity Asset Management through DPW. We were going to be integrating that system. We are no longer going to do that. We have half the staffing for ambassadors. We currently don't have an operations coordinator, so we're at 2/3 management. And what we're looking at for, we already cut down the facility repairs project from $1 million recommended repairs to $500,000. That was this last fiscal year's estimated numbers. And we're looking at other facility uses currently. As most people are aware, the underground market at MAC Garage is awesome. And hopefully that's bringing a lot of people downtown and helping support businesses. It's not helping with we don't charge for parking on Sundays. So it's not giving us a shot in the arm for that. For those particular days, but hopefully getting people used to using parking garages and coming downtown more. They'll come downtown more often and help with parking fees. We're also looking at moped permits, establishing a moped permit for the downtown. Currently, mopeds don't pay any portion for using the facilities, but are parking in the facilities. What we're looking at for this, we met with city staff, and we also met with MSU and talked through some of this. We're looking at an approximate $180 annual permit. So that's about $15 a month, which is very affordable. That would also allow us to help with striping of lines, keeping signs maintained, handling the moped permit process, and have mopeds paying for their use of the facilities. As part of that, we're looking at an ordinance change, which currently lets mopeds park at bike loops, which takes away bicycle parking. We're looking at possibly proposing an ordinance change that would not allow for mopeds to park at bike loops, but only at designated moped parking zones in the downtown. That's one thing we're exploring. Michigan Flyer, I've been in discussions with Michigan Flyer. It sounds like they're coming back to town, or they are back in town and starting bus service later in April. So hopefully we can get our contract figured out, and that'll give some more revenues to Charles Street Parking Garage and a great service to the downtown. Facility rentals, apparently there's some interest in like a yoga studio, for example, is interested, and some birthday interest for leasing out MAC Garage basement area or a portion of it. So we're working with Parks and Recreation to see if we can make parking facilities another option for leasing out space in the downtown. another facility that East Lansing can offer for people to have events. We're proposing increasing the lost ticket fee for the parking facilities. Currently, it's the maximum for the gated lots is the lost ticket fee. We are finding that we're having issues with people parking for multiple days and then coming out and saying that I lost my ticket, and then they just pay for the one day. So we're looking at increasing that to $25 from what was $15 for the garage and $20 for the surface lot at Bailey Lot 11. We are also adding proposing a Bailey Lot 11 permit rate, which was not currently in the past, because there is some interest from people like hub residents that are interested in having a permit in that location, and with us having less occupancy in all of our garages, that Bailey Lot 11 would be a good option to have a permit rate. We're also renegotiating contract or credit card fees with Wind Cave and Passport, and working to try to do that with IPS as well. So trying to get us less credit card fees. And also staff are working with Scene Metro Space as the parking department pays for utilities and garbage service for Scene Metro Space, which is operated by MSU. We don't get any rent for that facility as well for that space. So working with MSU to try to figure that out, where at least we get a little bit of rent and maybe utilities paid for. And I think I may have gotten to the end of my ramble there. So hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of an idea, a much better idea if you didn't have one, about what is involved in our budget and history and what we've got coming up here. So what kind of questions and discussion do we have from that?
I do have a question, Caleb, if you don't mind. I'm sure I could go back and extrapolate this from the data, but can you kind of summarize the effect that the free 15 minutes has had on our whole system?
Yeah, so we did have the grace period of 5 minutes leading into COVID, and then through COVID closure, we had the 2.5 months of free parking. Then we did a month of 2-hour free, and then we transitioned to 30-minute grace period for about a month and a half, and now we're at 15-minute grace period. Customers seem to like it. I don't have any exact data right now of what the impact was, but I can definitely get that for everybody, of what the cost was to the parking fund. I know we still have, we also added curbside pickup locations at some meters in the downtown for free curbside pickup. And I know there's still a reluctance though to pull into the parking garages, though I know that people are liking the 15-minute grace period. We still have a lot of people parking just on the curb at the street, not at a meter, and blocking traffic and going to pick up their food. So we're trying to sort through that situation. But I can try to get some better numbers for you regarding the true impact of the 15-minute grace.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Cool.
I've heard good feedback about it generally, but yeah, I'm noticing the same thing, that
Yep.
my customers are much more likely to pull into a parking lot. People pull out, they park at 7-Eleven or in Harper's little side lot, even though I repeatedly ask them not to.
Right.
But then, they're gone as soon as I hand them their stuff. So, but I think some of that's a learning curve too, because it's relatively new. And so like just reinforcing that. But yeah, the feedback I've had has been positive.
Yeah, and the 15-minute grace period, we did not, as part of this budget process, we haven't proposed changing that back or anything to 5 minutes. We're anticipating leaving it at the 15-minute grace period. So. Any other questions to talk about? Concerns?
I have some questions.
Sure.
So please wave to me or something if you can't hear me. I think my internet is messing up a little bit. I've had trouble hearing people, and I think it's on my end.
Great. We can hear you so far.
Thank you. So the mopeds not being able to park at the bike loops. So that would be something that would only pertain to downtown.
You're getting kind of choppy right now, but you asked mopeds parking at the not parking at the bike loops would only pertain to downtown. Yeah, that's something we would have to establish. Maybe it would have to in the ordinance say in the DDA district for downtown or something like that, some sort of specification. The issue is that we're facing is that we have a lot of mopeds driving on the sidewalks. That's part of the ordinance is you're not supposed to drive on the sidewalks, but it's happening to get to bike loops that are on the sidewalks. So we're trying to correct that issue at the same time as get some funding coming in for facility use of the garages to help establish moped zones and help pay for facility maintenance. And Dana, I don't know if you went all the way out now, but
Yeah, I'm trying to dial in now.
oh, there you are.
Dana, you can text me questions too, and I'll front them for you if you're having tech problems, so.
Okay, thanks. And I called in. I don't know if the host can put me in the panel that way.
Chad, are you able to do that?
Yep, we're working on it.
Cool, thank you, sir.
I'll ask a question in the interim just related to mopeds. Have we looked any more into having them registered in the city or anything like that? Something that would kind of bring in quite a bit of money and also like probably cure a lot of problems that we have in terms of overparking and stuff downtown, right?
Registered in the city as a whole?
Yeah.
I don't know if that one has actually been discussed. I think as far as we've gotten right now is a permit for the downtown. That would be a decal like MSU does that goes on the moped. That way we can verify if they're supposed to be in a parking facility or not. And those are the only zones we established on a walk actually yesterday with city staff. There would be zones in each of our facilities where we already have a lot of mopeds parking. So you can kind of see where the trends are of where mopeds want to be. So we established some zones in the parking facilities, which is why we're kind of thinking parking permit for the facilities. But the issue would be then in my theory, our theory is that you establish a permit just in the parking garages and not for the downtown, then it's just going to push people without changing the ordinance from the bike loops. It's just going to push people out of the garages, and then the sidewalks are going to be filled with mopeds. So we're trying to figure out a solution there. But yeah, a big picture moped permitting for all of East Lansing is something that could be discussed.
With these, is there an estimated cost of these permits?
Yeah, sorry if I didn't mention that. I thought I had $180 for the year. We're anticipating it overlapping, like coinciding with our fiscal year, which is July through June, which would overlap MSU's, which we're finding most of the permits are students. So it would overlap the school year and be approximately, I think that's about $15 per month, which is less than a full vehicle because they have less facility impact, but are still using the facilities. So we wanted to try to capture some of that revenue to help with facility maintenance.
Great. Would there be any, I mean, I guess I'm curious what the cost of administering the mopeds would be.
Yeah, the permits themselves are, I think we found out they were about $1 for the stickers, and the stickers are a special sticker that you can't just, peel off somebody's moped and put it on your own, that kind of thing. So it kind of destroys it when you peel it off. So it's a specially made permit sticker. So only about $1 a piece, maybe a little bit more than that. But yes, the administration of it would have to happen through where we currently have permits sold, which is through the finance department. So obviously there would be a cost involved there. I'm not anticipating massive sales. I think I budgeted for in the first year, maybe selling about 50 or 100 of the permits. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So it's one of those where we don't know for sure until you try it. But figure that we should try to get something for revenues to help with facility maintenance. So
do you have any sort of approximate how many people, I mean, where are you getting that 50 to 100 from?
Just based on the number of mopeds we see parked in the facilities. So there's probably about 100 that we can see in the facilities on average. And so if I think I might have budgeted for 50. Let me do the math here real quick. Yeah, I budgeted for 50 because we see about 100 in the facilities, anticipating not all of them are going to buy a permit. We budgeted about $9,000 coming in for revenues for selling of those permits in the first fiscal year.
Okay.
And there would be warning tickets as well as what we envisioned along with a press release. Do a press release and also do warning tickets for a month or so on the mopeds that are there, so they don't get hammered right away, you know.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions?
Did Dana get back in? I'm sorry, Councilmember Watson.
Yeah, I was trying to
There's a lot of
trying to
echo
talk on my
going on.
phone, and I don't know if I can talk on my phone. Do I do *6?
We can hear you fine right now if you have any other questions.
Yeah.
And I might have spoke prematurely.
Okay, so I'll just get.
Dana, make sure you mute your computer if you try to talk on the phone.
Okay.
Not while Dana's working on that, Caleb, not to belabor the moped part, but would that include kind of upgrading the parking areas for mopeds in the garage? I know like in Albert, it's kind of roped off with construction tape in a weird way. And then like I noticed in Grove that people are parking like in the loading zones next to the stairwells, the kind of the white striped zones, which obviously is not great. So I guess, you know, if we're going to start charging them for that, are we going to make it a little bit better?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday as well during our walk. In the zebra stripes, yes, that's technically a no parking area, so that could be enforced now. We envision that we would clean up and stripe the designated moped parking zones, have it be like a large box, a painted box on the floor with a sign on the wall or a decal or a painted template that says moped parking by permit only, tow away zone, and then have it be designated in the ordinance that you must park to park downtown, you must park in a designated moped parking zone and no bike loops. So yes, and we would move like, there's a bunch of mopeds that park by Division Garage, by the entrance of Division Garage up on the sidewalk, which we technically have as a moped parking sign there. So we would move that to into the garage a little bit along the side in the zebra stripes, but we would actually paint off a section that was designated as moped parking. So we could clear up that little area and maybe put another picnic table there for more activation of outdoor spaces.
So I guess my question is, what would I mean, obviously you can't travel super far on mopeds, but you could travel from like Okemos, or you could travel from Township pretty easily, right? Like, so what if somebody is kind of traveling to downtown in the first, you know, for the first time? Like, what is their best case scenario for parking?
So that's a great question. What they can always do is utilize the parking facility or the parking spaces downtown as being a normal customer. So park in a regular parking space and you pay the regular parking rate for parking your vehicle in that space. So like on street parking or in a gated facility.
Right.
Obviously that could turn into a bit of an issue because the gates don't always prevent a little scooter from getting around it. So if somebody really wanted to, they could, you know, park in a valid parking space in the garage and still drive out around the gate. So that could be a flaw in this kind of arrangement.
Yeah, I mean, I seems like people are flying around the gate all day, every day from where I'm literally sitting sometimes.
Right. So yeah, it would be, we luckily have the cameras. It is much harder with the cameras to see the tiny little decal on the back of a moped. So it's tough to catch those kind of situations. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how we would correct for that as a whole. If someone is just coming downtown and they wanted to park in the garage and then drive around the gate, I don't know how we would stop that one. So that would be something to talk through, I guess, and figure out how we would handle it.
Councilmember Watson did just text me to say that she put a question into the queue. I don't know who the meeting owner is, but if you could see if you could find that.
Yes, thanks, Councilmember Greg. I've been communicating with her.
Can you hear me?
With a echo, with a big echo.
Shouldn't I? I'm trying to figure out how to talk through my phone.
Did you mute your computer? I think that was mentioned already to try that. I don't know if that's going to work for you.
Okay, it doesn't look like my phone has me as a panelist. So I'm trying to talk on it and no one hears me through my phone.
Right.
Chad, do you have any recommendations or anybody?
But
I am not at all a pro on this stuff, so.
okay, so
She sounds fine right now.
Okay, you want to try it again, Dana?
all right. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to talk, and if it just doesn't work, I'll just send a, email with all my questions. I was wondering about the parking fee for the lost tickets. Do you collect names of people? Like I don't know, it's a $10 increase, but then it's like an over 50% increase for the lost ticket fee. And so is there information collected when a person loses their ticket to call out the people that are claiming, but have been in the parking garage for longer?
Right. Yes, we did just actually recently discuss starting to track that. We track a lot of stuff. So we were trying to also be realistic about what we can realistically track for ambassadors who are managing the control center all by themselves and different interactions. But yes, we did talk about that one, and that would be a good one to track as well, to see if we have repeat offenders who are doing the same kind of thing. We did look at other parking systems, and quite often the lost ticket fee is higher than a normal daily rate in the garage. And I think making this modest adjustment would help with people who are trying to skirt the system. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but trying to get away with parking for multiple days.
How many part-time staff have you had, and how many do you have right now?
Sarah, are you on? I think we have, my sheet, I think we might have about 10 right now. And I think we had upwards of 15. But the number of staff doesn't really, because it just is a number of shifts. So even if we have 10 staff, but they only work these small number of shifts, they're getting less hours. So number of staff doesn't necessarily mean number of shifts, that kind of thing, because our schedules vary for every 2 weeks, every week. I mean, we schedule ambassadors every week out.
Okay, and they're not really included in that overtime part of it then?
No, there's not, well, they don't work over 30 hours usually.
Okay.
So there, you'd have to work over 40 hours, then you would get overtime. But they're not included in our budgetary because it doesn't really happen. So they're not included in that number.
Okay.
All right. What other kind of questions do we have and recommendations, things to discuss? Everybody's all glassed over with my awesome presentation. All right. So should we then move on to 5.1? Or we want to go over some more stuff?
That sounds great, Caleb.
Okay. So parking web widget. I know we've talked about this one for a while, but we're getting closer. The web widget would be a live counts for the downtown app, as well as would be on the East Lansing website. It sounds like there have been discussions with Community and Economic Development Administrator Adam Cummins and Sarah Cheesebro in our department, and Revise, who would be handling the integration. So they're still working through some integration questions, but hopefully getting much closer to that being a reality. Leading into COVID, when a perception was that we didn't have parking downtown, parking available, this idea had come up. So we wanted to, I think it's about $600 integration and a $600 annual fee. And so it seemed like a very affordable thing for us to implement, assuming that we're going to get back to people wanting to see what parking is available downtown, and they may want to see that now. So that'd be a neat thing to implement. Any discussion about that one? And then Heather, are you still on, Heather Pope? Did you want to talk about wayfinding signage?
So we currently are in the process of having 3 new wayfinding signs designed. 2 of them will be inside the Albert Avenue parking garage at the stairwells when you're exiting. And there will be one kiosk style sign that's placed out along Albert Avenue right near Barrio. So they're currently with the company Valley City Signs. They're doing the design work. I expect the shop drawings soon. We'll sign up on those, and those will get manufactured and installed.
All right. So are there any voting items, I guess, that we should go over here that the task force would want to vote on based on what we had presented on and discussed?
Caleb, or Chair, this is Tom here. Just to note that we would appreciate any recommendations in terms of the budget, especially in relation to the staffing. We're currently budgeting to replace the 3rd management position, the coordinator. Obviously, we'll be freezing that position and only hiring it if things do improve. But that is a policy question for ultimately the council as to whether to keep that position available or to eliminate it to help reduce some of the cost side, the expense side. The other is sort of our philosophy that things will come back to some normalcy in terms of the system. Caleb described it as an optimistic conservatism, I think. And essentially what that means in terms of the dollars is we're budgeting for 75% of a normal year, expecting that, as we get into the later months of the summer, things are going to start to normalize. And that's sort of the philosophy that we've carried into this budget. So from a high level, I think those are the 2 things we'd really like your input on. And if you're so inclined to make a recommendation to the council, I think that would be appreciated. The other that comes to mind would be that moped permit and whether we should go down that road. So those are sort of the big items that I think we're looking for recommendations on, and I don't know if Caleb had any others specifically, but I think that would be helpful if you're so inclined. So thank you.
Yeah, I didn't have any others. So what Tom had mentioned there, it seems like good items to get some guidance on.
Caleb, can I ask, when is this due?
When is it due?
Yeah.
We're going through the finalizing the budget process right now. Jill, I don't know if you're still on. Is there a due date? Maybe, I guess it's like April 20th that we go in front of council for council discussion only. Is that right?
We present the budget book to council early April.
Early April is the budget book. Okay. And then we do our discussion only stuff after that.
Yeah, we have multiple work sessions with city council in April and May, and we adopt the budget in May at the last council meeting in May. I think it's May 25th.
So we probably need a recommendation to finalize the budget book stuff for early April presentation, probably today, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I judge from everybody's silence. I mean, I'll only speak for myself, but I'm not entirely sure I feel comfortable recommending this budget as is, only because it's just been presented to me. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't know what any other voting members' thoughts are on this. I'd certainly entertain a motion if one was brought to me. All right, well, hearing none, do we at least have any other questions or anything else related to what Mr. Fehrenbach had to say or what they're seeking guidance on?
So I can follow the process. If we agreed about the moped part, would we see more information at some point? Like, I'm curious about what's going on now in the area, and just kind of that perspective of the bicyclists. Are they complaining that their spots are all taken? And are these mopeds that stay the entire year? And so I just have a lot of questions about it. And so I'm just curious if we say to the moped thing today, does that mean kind of all the discussion there is?
No, so bicyclists have complained in the past about mopeds parking. I haven't heard them recently because there hasn't been nearly as much traffic downtown. But that has been an issue in the past of mopeds taking bicycle places. Lots of complaints from businesses and customers of the downtown, visitors of the downtown, mopeds whipping around on sidewalks and driving on sidewalks to get to those bicycle places to park their moped. And then inside the facilities, we currently have moped areas for mopeds to park. But so they're utilizing the facilities, but not paying any sort of fee for the impact they have on the facilities or striping of spaces or signage or anything. We're not getting any revenues for the mopeds using the facilities and us having to maintain moped zones in facilities. I don't know if that answers the question all right. There would be further conversation. We were looking to establish the moped permit rate through the budget process, and that's part of our fee schedule. So we did put that into the fee schedule for city council consideration at $180 for the annual permit, which is $15 a month for 12 months. So that part is in there. I've never had to change an ordinance myself, so I don't know what's involved. So that's probably a bit of a process itself to change an ordinance, or maybe it's not, to change it from mopeds being allowed to park at bicycle loops to changing that to having to park in designated moped parking only zones.
Okay, anyone else? Caleb, I think unfortunately we're gonna have to close this discussion then today. Unless you have any questions specifically for us.
No, I think everybody, you know, judging by the silence, I think everybody sees that we're trying the best we can and doing the best we can with the complications that are in our lap, you know, just like many businesses are having to deal with. Same kind of thing for us. We're trying to figure out how to maintain these facilities. Using some fund balance to do so is pretty much what the option is, unless we just want to let the facilities keep deteriorating. So obviously not my recommendation. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody listening. Hopefully everybody's a little more informed now.
I'm sorry, I did have one more important comment.
Sure.
We have talked recently about allowing workers who work downtown to be able to park maybe at discount fees. And this has to do with what their wages are. And so I was just wondering if there's been any further discussion, or if that's an idea that can be presented to give us money and also save people money.
I think that where that had gone and was left at was that the permit rates, the monthly permits are already a discount monthly parking permit. So there's 70% off of the daily rate. So discussion of taking that risk of whether a further discount is actually going to get more revenues into the parking fund to maintain facilities, or is it just going to drive people who are currently paying for their monthly permit to get a discount permit, a further discounted permit, and then not be paying for their regular permit as they are currently.
Okay.
Yeah, and implementation, it seemed like a risk, so we did discuss it. Are we willing to take that risk? That's a good thing for Parking Task Force to weigh in on. Do we want to? How would we offer it? And do we want to try to offer something like that? How would we verify that the person is what their wages are and whether it would pertain to them or not? And what's the labor involved in doing so, and who pays for that verification?
I did have a thought about that, Caleb.
Sure.
I think that, I mean, your point is well taken, that it could just exchange people who are paying for a higher price permit into a lower cost class, right? And that it wouldn't be a gain for us. But I do think that there's probably some sort of balancing act of, you know, benefit gain, depending. My thought would be to do it through the employers, to have businesses purchase bulk permits for their employees. So the employee would have to negotiate with their, you know, obviously the employer would have to opt in, and then the employee would have to receive it from their employer. But that way, at least there would be a verification that it was somebody that was employed downtown, working downtown. So, you know, like, I don't know what the discount would be, but, you know, imaginary non-existent coffee shop could hire could purchase a dozen monthly permits at a employer rate and then distribute them to whomever within their organization they wanted to distribute them to. And then it would be up to the employer, I guess, whether the employee compensated them for the purchase or whether it was just a benefit.
So we have done in the past, we have done some attraction and retention programs for discounts. So maybe that's something that could be considered doing a press release on or something for attracting businesses. And it would be like, it's kind of a scaled to market rate. Some of them are like a 5-year, okay, you start off with a 25% discount off the permit rate, and then it scales back until you get to market rate over 5 years. I think some had been 10 years. That was usually an attraction kind of program to get a business down here, but it was also noted as being a retention program. I don't know that we've had businesses reach out to us to do a retention kind of thing to make an arrangement, but that'd be something that we could try to see about. And then you're not locked into this discounted rate forever, but it helps some people in the meantime. And then you can taper back to a market rate when times are better. Back to the 70% discounted rate that is currently in place. Is that something the parking task force would want us to look further into, or?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. All right, so attraction and retention. I guess I'm not sure exactly, so I could see what we have, if there's any sort of documentation from the past on that, and maybe share that with the task force of what it's kind of looked like in the past, and then maybe we see how to move forward with it, or how to spread word about it.
Sounds good, Caleb.
Okay, so that's another thing that loops me back to one of the ongoing issues we have, is that that's a very labor intensive thing, and I don't have very much staff working, lots of hours every day, and trying to figure out how to get everything done with very minimal staff. So circles back to, okay, this is going to be more labor intensive. How do we then implement something like that, and going through contracts and such?
Caleb, I have another question. Sorry to be monopolizing the conversation. Does our system accommodate something like a punch card that would be like a refillable prepaid card for people who are frequent users of the system?
So I believe our validation tickets can be programmed to each use take off what your fee was.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put $50 on it, and I think you can use it. I think we can set it up to use it to deduct some each time. So I can look more into that and verify.
But that would be the paper magnetic strip ticket, not the
Yes.
proximity cards.
Yes,
Okay.
the paper tickets. Yep.
Okay. I wonder if that's something that we could kind of sorry, my words are just disappearing from my head lately. Sorry, but that we could kind of test out through the businesses, allowing them to kind of pre-purchase employee parking rates, and then I don't know if it was something that we could kind of test out.
So some businesses, we offer the 40% discount for parking validations in the downtown. I think most everybody's probably aware of that. But some businesses do that for their employees. It's not really not what it was intended for. It was intended to, to give a discount for businesses to get customers downtown. But some businesses do that. They do a full validation, and then they do to get the 40% discount for being an East Lansing business. So that's something businesses can consider as well. But we can also look into the validation ticket, taking off some from a pre-charged amount.
Yeah, I guess, thinking of employees of businesses only as employees of businesses is a little bit limiting. I think, people who come downtown to work also stay downtown to patronize other businesses before and after their shift too. So, they are our customers as well as our staff downtown. Just, I only go to Tiny Target when I'm downtown already. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to drive if I'm going to drive, I'm going to drive to the larger Target, but if I'm already there, I'm going to go to that one. Right. So I think, I don't know, making the downtown experience more pleasant for our employees that are coming in is also, they are our customers as well. So.
Cool. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to try to stop talking. I feel like I've talked a lot.
No, that's good. I agree.
Good conversation.
Yeah, especially, if FCU does come downtown, that's why you want them downtown in the first place. So, yeah. No. Thank you, Jesse. Does anybody have any other questions, or any comments? I probably don't have much more than 5-10 minutes left, so I think we should probably move on, close this discussion. Looks like additional parking initiatives.
I think I kind of covered all that stuff through what we were talking about. So additional, which is that D? Additional parking. Oh, we already went through the wayfinding and the web widget. So I think we're basically at adjournment now, unless there's any further discussion or any votes that need to take place. And I have a list of things here to look into.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Caleb. Thank you everybody for their time. I think we will just go ahead and adjourn then.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. What staff member is still on that is controlling this meeting? Anyone?
I think
Chad's here, Luke.
Hey, Chad. I just want to talk real quick. If you have a sec.
Sure.
About it's just for the purpose of the meeting minutes, both Jesse and Doug Jester voted to approve the previous minutes, and I think we have to go with Doug Jester solely because I don't think Jesse Gregg is actually a voting member of this this committee. So she's going to second it in the first place. So
I appreciate that clarity.
Yep. And that is it. Cool. Have a good day.
Yeah, got it, man. Thanks. You too.